let maybe I would say construct.
Okay. Do we have any?
It's a construct.
Is a construct. Thank you very much. Now, development communication itself is a construct, meaning underneath we can further break it down, which is why you're having it as a discipline. Just like saying social media. Another social media, we have Facebook, we have WhatsApp, we have X, we have Snapchat, and so on. Quite a lot of it. So it means it is a construct. Now, I'll say it's a construct. It means we have to break it down by understanding the two terminologies or the two discernible terms in it, and that is development and the word communication. Now, we all get to do this course basically because it is a requirement and because we find it to be a course. But first off, we need to understand what it is before we can be able to have a clearer understanding of what is embedded in it. Now, what do we mean by development? I will take this from the scratch, and then we go to our micro, meso, and macro levels, and then what are the models guiding each of these levels, which is the micro, macro, and then meso. But what is the meaning of the word communication itself? We all are familiar with this from our 100 level days, which has to do with the art of transmitting information, ideas, and attitudes from one person to another, from the encoder to the decoder, and what is expected from the two of them is when they are engaging in what is known as a two-way communication is feedback. Now we get to have distortion underneath, and then we have types of communication, should I say forms of communication from your intra to inter to your, what do we call it, public communication, group communication, and what we have as mass communication. Each and every one of these forms of communication takes place. And today we are in the era of new media, new forms of communication where you don't even have to see the person before you communicate. And we are having something of such at this moment. Now, the next one, which is development. What do we mean by the term development? Development is interpreted from various perspectives, meaning from various disciplines. Each of those disciplines will give you their own definition of the word development. It could be personal development, while some perspectives focus on individual and personality variables such as self-reliance and achievement motivation. Others concentrate on development to mean capacity development to effect a change, a behavioral attitude, or to become adaptive to changing situations. What we are undergoing currently in Nigeria is a form of development, whether it is underdevelopment or a steady growing development. But at some point, we can say we are developing. But in the diaspora, they still refer to us as underdeveloping or a developing nation. We can still compare Nigeria to the likes of Gambia, to the likes of Kenya, their level of poverty to ours. How many are they? And yet Nigeria will tell you they are currently at maybe 33 point something percent poverty rate or poverty level, telling you they are still growing by the day. Meaning development takes place from different perspectives. You look at yourself once in a while and say, yes, I am developing. Currently, you all are running your MSc in communication. You are not where you are last year. Your friends in your undergrad days in school are not the same set of friends you keep currently. They are not the set of friends you keep in school are not the same set of friends you keep at work. And you can tell yourself, yes, I am growing. For some of us that are working in an establishment where we grow probably every 3 years, a civil service or civil servant, we get to grow probably every 3 years or every 2 years. So each and every one of us could say, yes, we are growing. And when we say we are growing, it might be capacity, it might be mental, it might be personal. But like I said, this definition of the word development varies a lot. It varies a lot. Now, what do we mean by the word development communication? Development communication. And this is us trying as much as possible to marry these two concepts together. When we marry the two, what does it mean? When we marry the two, what does it mean? So we refer to it as C4D, just like you have it in your school, communication for development. And communication for development has been comprehensively defined by Fraser and Restrepo Estrada in 1998 as the use of communication processes, techniques, and media to promote, to help people plan actions for change and sustainable development, to help people acquire the knowledge and skills they need to improve their condition and that of society, and to improve the effectiveness of institutions. Now, when we say communication for development, this is us, a student of communication for development or C4D, trying as much as possible to use communication to effect change, to use communication to effect behavioral attitudinal change or to transform change. So when we make use of these forms of communication, it differs how we make use of it. While an individual will make use of infographics to communicate to a particular group of people, another individual will make use of all other shades of communication to effect adaptability or to effect change, which might be attitudinal or behavioral. Now, when we make use of this communication, we have to be cognizant of the people we are using it for. What language do they understand? How best should we channel our device, or how best should we design our forms of communication so as to ensure it is effective enough, so as to ensure it affects the expected change that we want? So communication for development, again, is the use of communication processes, techniques, and media to help people towards consensus. That is, we can use communication to bring people together in order for us to bring about development, which is why in our own environment today, places like Ikorodu, places like K2, they tell you they have what is known as CDA, Community Development Association. And at the end of the day, they'll tell you they have a chairman for that CDA. Why are they having that CDA? It is to bring about development in that environment. It is to bring about development towards peaceful coexistence amongst people living in that environment. If it is in terms of good roads, they come together, discuss, and in the course of discussing, they try as much as possible to reach a laudable conclusion where each and every one of them could say, yes, I am contributing to this cause because we all agree to it. In an environment or in a society, you find people having night watch, the Yorubas will call it Olode. They cannot come out to say they want to work for you if the CDA doesn't contract them to come and work for them. So meaning one form of communication or the other must have taken place. So when we talk about communication, it might take any form at all. It might be personal, which is intra. It might be between two persons or three, which can be inter. It might be group. And that is what you get in your CDAs, in what you get in your class, in what we are engaging in right now as a class. And at the same time, we can have it in form of mass communication when our audience or audiences are larger than expected.
Good morning, everyone.
To reach out to them one way or the other. So when we talk about this again, it's about what? Communication for
Good morning.
Development. And in most cases, it is expected.
It's quite sad that we are currently running behind schedule. So I wouldn't want us to waste so much time in commencing, because we are 42 minutes late in the commencement of the tutorial. Mr. Yusuf Shilola is a university lecturer from Summit University of Nigeria, one of the recognized private universities in Nigeria. And the last time I spoke concerning the size of the department with Mr. Ashilola, he made it known to me that the department has the highest number of students in the whole of the university. So it is a great privilege.
All right, I think this person is running late. Can we mute the person, whoever the coordinator is? This lecture has started. Can someone help mute him? I think he did not know the lecture has started. The lecture has started over 15 minutes ago. Please, thank you.
Right in our midst also is credited with some report and editorials in major newspapers in Nigeria. Mr. Yusuf Sholola, is an honor to have you in our midst.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ridwan.
Hello?
Having taken cognizance of the time, we just had to start the class because I want to believe majority of us have one or two things to
Yeah.
do,
I've joined. I've
probably
joined.
1 hour or
I
two
was done
hours.
that. I just finished speaking.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Ridwan. The class has already commenced, so we'll move on from there. So I think one thing we've been able to explain or enlighten each and every one of us on has to do with what the term communication for development is. And when we say development communication, we'll be able to break this down. And so we'll be moving on from there into our own business of the day. And that has to do with planning, the micro, the meso, and the last one, which is the macro levels for development communication, and also the models that are guiding each and every one of these levels. So the first one we'll be looking at has to do with the micro level of development communication. And what do we make use of this when we talk about the micro level? One thing should come to our mind, or one thing we should have at the back of our mind, is that when you're talking about development communication, the primary assignment here is the fact that you want to use it to effect change. You want to use it to create awareness. You want to use it to effect attitudinal or behavioral change, or inform people or sensitize people about a particular thing. Now, when we make use of each and every one of this forms of effecting change, then we can start talking about it. Are we making use of it at the micro level? Are we trying to effect change at the micro level? Are we trying to effect change at the meso level? Are we trying to effect change at the macro level? These are the things we should ask ourselves. And which is why it is important for us to have detailed knowledge of this so as to know the level we are operating and those that are expected to be our respondents or be the beneficiaries of this. So when we talk about the macro level, in most cases, the micro level rather, in most cases, it's about bringing people together. And we'll talk about bringing people together. We start talking about civic engagement. And it is actually very, very important. It is always about civic engagement, whether or not those we are working with are educated or not, whether or not they are what educated or not. And when we are doing this, we need to plan and implement our development communication, and we ensure this planning is effective. And it often requires a multifaceted approach that considers quite a lot of levels. And when we say quite a lot of levels, we'll be referring to our micro again, the meso, and the macro of engagement. And it utilizes appropriate models of development communication. And we'll be exploring each and every one of these. Now, I'll talk about the micro level. The micro level of development communication is a vital component in the broader landscape of communication for social change. And this level of communication for development centers on engaging individuals at the personal level to inspire behavioral change and to foster awareness of critical issues. So, in this extensive conversation of ours, we'll delve into key elements of micro level, and it includes the core objectives of it, the strategies, and the application of its influential communication models. Now, these models, we all are already familiar with it, and that is when we'll be talking about some of the theories of mass communication or some of the models of mass communication, the two-step flow. We'll equally be looking at what is known as I will talk about the two-step flow, the health belief model as well. And like I said again, for your micro level, at the micro level, in most cases, it is always personal. Because from the word micro, we are still taking it at the basics, at the minimal level. So for us to be able to effect change at the global stage or at the national stage or at the regional stage, it means we must have taken our steps from the micro level, which is from the basic, by reaching out to people one-on-one. So the micro level centers on engaging individuals at the personal level. Let us reach out to them. If my goal is to become the governor of Ogun State or the governor of Lagos State, I can't just go to the media today and start advertising or probably run a jingle telling people I'm interested in becoming the next governor of Ogun State in the next 3 to 4 years. I won't do that. I'll rather start from the grassroots. That allows me or gives me the opportunity to know my people, to know their needs. And it is with this need that I get to know how best to tap into it, extort this need. When I say extort, meaning I'll have to mix majority of their needs, cater for their needs. That way it allows me to be able to have one-on-one relationship with them. So that when I'm coming out as the next governor, or probably let's say as the next councillor of that environment or of that local government area, then or the chairman, they can say, yes, we want this man. He has been with us for the past 3 months. Fayose of Ekiti introduced quite a lot of politicians to what is known as the grassroots politics today. He doesn't go around on radio or TV portraying himself as a philanthropist. No, he won't do that. You rather find him making use of the micro level for development by going to all the small villages within the nooks and crannies of Ekiti. He will tell them, what are your needs? Oh, we need water here. Don't worry. I'll come next month. I'll meet with your Bale or your Mogaji or your Kings or your Oba to discuss how best to come up, how best to solve the problem at hand. If they're having some of their kids that intend to go to a higher institution that do not have the financial strength or are not financially buoyant enough to send their words to school, it caters for that for their needs. Do you know what he's doing? He's trying to effect an attitudinal change or a behavioral change so that the next minute they hear that so and so person is contesting for a seat, they all will come out en masse to vote for him without him having to spend a dime. And by the time he is having a contestant or somebody contesting for the same, an opposition contesting for the same seat, that one might decide to start making use of radio, TV, social media, posters, billboard, and so on. But it won't count to those Fayose are taking care of at the micro level. Meaning he had met them at their own comfort zone. He goes to them, he doesn't allow them to, he doesn't tell them, please come and meet me in my mansion or come and meet me at the estate. He's taking this power to them. He's taking this behavioral change to them. This is what I want you to think about me the moment you see my poster. So what does this what do we do at the micro level for development communication? What we try as much as possible is to effect change, a long-term change. What's the current minister of FCT today, Nyesom Wike? People often see him as I call him one of the biggest politicians in Nigeria today. He is a game changer. At some point, what Wike did was not to start making use of his own radio or TV. What he made use of was the micro level of communication. And his objective is to create individual awareness and behavioral change. Individual awareness of his own personality and people's behavioral change of his own personality. And how did he get that done? He get that done by recruiting nothing less than over 13,000 individuals that will man each of these polling units, and he assigned them with just only one responsibility. When it's time for election, you will be the one to deliver that polling unit for me. And he put them, each and every one of them, under the government, under his own payroll. Meaning every month they get something. So if Nyesom Wike come out today to say, I don't want so and so to win the next election, people are going to come out for him already because there are those that have pledged their allegiance to him because he had engaged them at the micro level. And at this micro level again, it has to do with what? The personal level, to inspire behavioral change and to foster awareness on critical issues. If this issue towards development has to do with people getting good jobs after school, people getting employed immediately after school, whether it is through the government or through private companies or in parastatals or agencies, then we need to engage people at the micro level. So in this extensive discussion of ours, like I said, we'll dive into the key elements of this micro level, which has to do with the core objectives. And what are the core objectives? Number one, the core objectives of the micro level aims to achieve several important objectives. Number one, there is create awareness. At the micro level, what we intend to create for development, please, I will still relate all of this back to a real life situation or a real life scenario, or paint an anecdote on this so that we can understand it better, how each and every one of this level play their games right. And when you make use of it for communication for development, I can bet it with you, you can always get it right every time you make use of this approach. Number one, again, under the objectives of micro level, has to do with create awareness. That is the number one objective. At the micro level, we seek to raise individuals' awareness about specific development issues. If it is about good water for people to drink, we need to create awareness at the micro level. If it is about what is the name? Polio, eradicating polio in our environment or in our constituency, we have to first create awareness for it. We can't just go to radio and then start playing jingle and we expect people to that jingle to affect people's change. No, it has to be one-on-one. At the point in Lagos, when APC knew it seems we are likely to lose the governorship election, the gubernatorial election, what did they do? What they did was to go into our streets, one-on-one, campaign, make use of any means at all, make use of any scenarios at all, paint all forms of propaganda to ensure they come back to power. We could see Sanwo-Olu go to church. If they were to invite him to Walima, then he will go, because he needed to meet people one-on-one. We found Sanwo-Olu in train stations. We found Sanwo-Olu at ShopRite. That was when they understood the power of meeting people one-on-one to effect that change, to create awareness. And when we use this for these developmental issues, for challenges or opportunities, that the people often use it for development issues, for challenges or opportunities that directly affect them. This is what is affecting us at the moment. How best can we tackle some of these challenges, or how best can we ensure we overcome some of these challenges? It is by creating awareness at the micro level, by reaching out to people one-on-one. It is not by making use of the media or the mass communication this time around. The next one, or the next objective, is to inspire action. We make use of micro level to do what? Inspire action. The micro level allows us to motivate individuals to take specific action or to adopt behaviors that contribute to personal well-being and broader community development. Again, when we use micro level to inspire action, we use it to motivate individuals to take specific action or adopt behaviors that contribute to personal well-being and broader community development. We saw this come to play in the last gubernatorial election as well, and equally the presidential election, where people motivated each other online. And they were not only able to do this online, they did this personally as well. This is the people, or this is the person we'll be voting for the next election, door-to-door campaign. And we saw the big effect of this on even the APC government in Lagos State. We've never sent shivers down the spine of these politicians, but it happened for the first time in Nigeria. And it's because they understood the power of what this development, communication for development at the micro level, at the grassroots level. It has serious change on people. Another thing we noticed is one thing. Currently on Twitter, we have the power, and which was why I made use of the word civic engagement. When people come together towards a particular issue, a particular challenges in the society, then the government themselves feel the efficacy of this, or feel the power of people coming together. But before you can be able to come together, you need to reach out to people at the micro level, one-on-one. Whatever we see that is trending on Twitter, as of this morning, I think what I was able to see the last time, as at yesterday night or this morning, was justice for Mohbad. A whole lot of people are able to come up with this hashtag, justice for Mohbad, justice for Mohbad, because they've reached out to quite a lot of influencers one-on-one. This is what we are promoting this minute, and we need it to top our chart. We need it to top our trends. So the micro level is very, very important. The third objective is this. The third objective is change perceptions. Change perceptions. Change perceptions. When we talk about change perception, it challenges and reshapes existing attitudes, beliefs, and perception related to a particular issue, encouraging individuals to see it from a new perspective. When we say again, change perception, it challenges and reshapes existing attitudes, beliefs, and perception related to a particular issue, encouraging individuals to see it from a new perspective. Before the NSAS protests in 2020, quite a lot of Nigerian youths were not seeing anything bad from the way police harass us on major highways, or they come to our house to even harass us on our major streets to harass us. While traveling, they do the same thing. We've been recording quite a lot of this incident, but we never found the need for us to bring about a positive change towards it, to say, no, this cannot continue. But when it comes to development communication, some people get to come together, whether or not it is sponsored, but at least till date, we can say to a larger extent, that has reduced drastically. We found out we're able to cover out from it the challenges that this posed to Nigerian youth. And with our narratives, we're able to reshape some of these attitudes of the Nigerian police. We're equally able to make use of it, reshape our own attitude, our beliefs, and by reshaping our attitudes and belief, it allows us to even understand our own right as ordinary Nigerian youth. And this perception equally was equally able to for us to be able to channel our perception to say this is not the way the Nigerian police should operate, but rather they are meant to only protect us, protect our lives and protect lives and security. But when they are taking it on the other way around, and that is a form of extortion, searching our phones, then it becomes an outcry. The narratives has to change. And we often use this perception that has to do with change to encourage individuals to see it from a new perspective. We can do this at the micro level, one-on-one. From one-on-one, it metamorphoses into bringing it from one-on-one to a national scale. And the last objective of micro level is for what? To provide knowledge. To provide knowledge. At the micro level, it equips individuals with the necessary information, skills, and tools to make informed decisions and take appropriate actions. It equips individuals with necessary information, skills, and tools to make informed decisions and take appropriate action. Politicians, like I said, often make use of this as well. That one politician that understood the power of grassroots politics would rather go to his people, give them what they need, quality healthcare, access to good water, access to quality education, and so many other basic things that they need. And then put at the back of their mind that single knowledge that, see, whatever you need, come to me in terms of information. If your children do not have the mental capacity or intelligent quotient to go to school, but rather they want to learn one or two skills, come to me. What are the tools that they will need in some of these places they need to learn? Come to me, I'll provide it. In order for you as the sponsor or the spin doctor this time around that needs something for the people to ensure these people have informed decision, so that if any other politician is coming to them, they are ready to bullshit that politician to say, please go away. You only remembered us after your 4 years in power. Now you want to come back. No, we already have our own candidate. So I'll reiterate again, what are the objectives at the micro level? Number one, create awareness. Number two, inspire action. Number three, change perception. And number four, provide knowledge. Please, can anyone do a recap of that once again?
To create awareness,
Okay.
to inspire action, to change perception, and to provide knowledge.
Provide knowledge. Thank you very much. Again, to create awareness, inspire action, change perception, and provide knowledge. And I said something as regards a micro level of communication development. What do we intend to use for it? Use it for? Our intention is to ensure that we use it to inspire personal change, one-on-one change. This change could be attitudinal, and this change as well could also be behavioral. And what are the strategies at the micro level? We've talked about the objectives. Now we're moving on to what is known as the strategies at the micro level for development communication. The strategies. Number one here is educational campaigns. Educational campaigns. Educational campaigns. Educational campaigns form the cornerstone of micro level development communication. And this campaign aims to disseminate relevant information and knowledge to individuals on critical issues. And the key strategies within educational campaign includes number one, information dissemination. Now let me run that by you again. Educational campaigns, which is our number one under the strategies at the micro level for development communication. Educational campaigns, again, forms the cornerstone of micro-level development communication. These campaigns aims to disseminate relevant information and knowledge to individuals on critical issues. The case of fuel subsidy, we all could see the effect in Lagos State today, and the number one effect I was able to notice last time I was in Lagos is the fact that with the introduction of fuel subsidy, it was able to at least do one thing: reduce traffic in Lagos. Now, the moment President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said subsidy is gone, we saw the effects on the Nigerian economy immediately. And quite a lot of people were cursing this man to say, why would he remove subsidy without cushioning the effect in the first place before removing it? So many of us said a lot of things. But one thing was missing there, and that was the education. People do not have the right information as regards what the term subsidy itself means. Had it been we have detailed information on what it means, then we'll be able to say, okay, I think it's good. Let him remove it and let us see the long-term effect of subsidy, and let us see how much the government is likely to save at the end of the day. Had it been we have detailed information on student loan as well. The moment Unilag equally said they are likely to increase their tuition fee, majority of us as students would not clamor. Because how much is the remuneration of a lecturer? The highest a professor we get is not even up to 500,000 naira, as majority of us assume. Because by the time they remove tax, by the time they remove so many pension and so many other things, what a baby professor is likely to go home with is less than 390,000. Needless to say, an ordinary assistant lecturer or lecturer 2, lecturer 1, and so on. So what we deal with under educational campaign as part of our strategy at the micro level is to inform people, is to inform individuals on critical issues first. And the key strategies towards doing this within our educational campaign is to number one, information dissemination. Information dissemination. Providing clear, accurate, and accessible information to individuals about a specific topic, issue, or challenge is very, very important. If people do not have detailed information, or if you do not disseminate at the right time detailed information about a particular issue to people, then they are likely to tell you they don't want it. It means you have to provide clear, accurate, and accessible, and ensure they have access to quality to the right information as at when due. If not, that lack of information will lead to what is known as conspiracy theories. People will start coming up with their own with their own information. Just like during COVID-19, quite a lot of people died in the diaspora. Even in Nigeria, some people abuse the use of having to run your bath with salt. Add salt, probably salt of 15 naira, into a bucket filled with water, use it to bath and drink from it. You are killing yourself gradually because you don't have the right information. And this issue at hand is very critical. COVID-19 could kill at that point. So information dissemination is very key, and disseminating this information using the right channel to this individual is equally very important. The Lagos State government will make use of radio. Same Lagos State government will make use of the urbans in all of these environments that we have, Oba of Ikorodu, Oba of Ketu, to equally make use of their subjects to disseminate this information so that the information will get to the grassroots, get to the people. The next one we'll be looking at under educational campaign is skill building. Skill building. Offering training sessions, workshops, and educational resources to empower individuals with practical skills that enable them to address or navigate the issue effectively. When you are discussing with people or you want to effect change at the grassroots level and you are making use of skill building as part of your strategy, and we shouldn't forget, again, the skill building has to do with the educational campaigns. The educational campaign. So we are saying skill building as a number 2. For us to be able to ensure that, yes, at the micro level, we are able to reach out to people, skill acquisition is very, very important. Today, Lagos State government has set up something in Ikorodu, something about, I think it's for coding, a coding school about tech, and so on. Do you know what they are trying as much as possible to do? What they are trying to do is to reach out to people at that level. So that it doesn't only happen that it is when they are having election, that is when they will remember that Ikorodu exists. It is when they are having the election, that is when they will remember that Ekpe exists. So why don't we equip these people? Why don't we sensitize them? Why don't we inform them? Why don't we educate them through any form of basic skills at all? And it is the government that will have to foot the bill. So we need the government or a team of development communication has to come together, come up with probably offering up to offer training sessions for these people, workshops, educational resources as well, to empower them with practical skills. And these skills can allow them as well to be able to navigate their current realities or their current issues effectively. I'll give us another example. In a flood-prone environment, I'm using flood-prone now, and they have this heavy downpour, and as usual, their roofs were gone, having to build their homes back were equally gone, and so on. Now, if you are ensuring people acquire skills such as carpentry, acquire skills such as POP making, acquire skills such and so many other skills, you are the one who provided these skills for them. Now, by the time you train them, they will be able to navigate that issue at that moment effectively because their hands are already filled. They already have the detailed knowledge they needed to use to solve other people's problem. So instead of those communities waiting on the government to come and get it done for them, they had already trained capable hands in their environment that will take care of the issue at hand. And the last one is interactive workshop. Interactive workshop. The last one for educational campaigns is interactive workshop. Conducting participatory workshops, seminars, or training sessions that facilitate two-way communication, knowledge exchange, and skill acquisition among individuals goes a long way in educating the environment that you intend to educate. So when we organize some of these workshops for them, they equally come together to be part of this workshop. And when you are conducting it, you don't conduct it in isolation as a development communication team. No, you rather ensure it is something that is open, almost free. There are some programs or seminars or workshops that they ask us to come and join on, maybe on our WhatsApp, and they tell you it is free. By the time you join, probably after a session or two, then they tell you you have to pay so and so amount. I am a student of quantum analysis class, and the moment I joined, they had a free class for us on Saturday. And at the end of that class, they only told us, come, if you are interested in pursuing this, or if you are interested in becoming a data analyst, and then we'll advise you pay maybe 35,000 for maybe 2 or 3 months training. Meaning first, they had to come up with that workshop to sensitize us. And that is what is expected when you're making use of your what? Educational campaign. And in all of this, in most cases, we find out we've been able to discern that they are mostly what? One-on-one. When you're training people on skill acquisition or skill building, then it is one-on-one. When you're informing or disseminating information to them, in most cases as well, it should be one-on-one at the micro level. And when you're conducting seminars or having seminars or workshop, a participatory training session as well, it should be what? It should be one-on-one. The next one we'll be looking at is social marketing. Social marketing. Now, social marketing is the number 2 strategy for micro level for development communication. The number 1 strategy is your educational campaigns. And I said, under your educational campaigns, you have to take care of 3 things: your information dissemination, your skill building, and the third, and number 3 is inter. Sorry, I guess I lost my connection. I hope everybody's. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, we are
Yeah,
here.
we're here.
All right. Thank you very much. So number 2 strategy is the social marketing. Social marketing applies marketing principles to promote beneficial behaviors and influence attitudes and actions. It is particularly effective in shaping individuals' behavior, and it equally has its own core strategies. And number 1 strategy here is segmentation. Number 2 is behavioral incentives. And number 3 is effective messaging. Again, it equally has its own strategies, just like what we had in educational campaigns. For social marketing, it has its 3 core strategies as well. Number 1 is segmentation, 2, behavioral incentives, and 3, effective messaging. I want to talk about social marketing. Again, this applies to marketing principles to promote beneficial behaviors and influence attitudes and actions. I want to talk about this social marketing. People are likely not to buy into what you're selling unless, and of course, they have something they are to benefit from it, which is why you have today your promos that we have around, even as much as our OP, PAMPay that we make use of. If you, what do we call it? If you refer someone, you stand to gain something. That way, you know, if I'm to refer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%, then I have something I'm going to gain at the end of the day. Same way for our Coca-Cola, they tell you to open the cork of the bottle, and then whatever you find inside, then it is yours. And so many other ways of ensuring people have something to give, something beneficial. For the guys, if we are to buy our innerwear, singlet, as much as we call it, we go for locks because we know inside locks, we are likely to find a free pen. So, and each and every one of this as our strategy, because we've been able to understand how people think. We love AWOOF. That is why our MTN at our grassroots level will tell you, make use of this tariff plan, then you can have access to 1.5 gig. If you are buying this mobile phone, you have access to free data for the next 6 months. Because of what? They needed you to do what? Buy their products. In the course of you buying it, they've been able to achieve something with you, and that is behavioral and attitudinal change. And they've been able to change your perception about that product. And in doing this, they need to take care of 3 things as their major strategy. Number 1 is segmentation. And how do they segment? How do they make use of segmentation? First, they make use of segmentation because they need to identify specific audience segments and tailor their messages, campaigns, and incentives to their unique needs, preferences, and circumstances. If they fail to segment their message, then they had failed as a development communication team. But rather, what they have to do is to segment this message. If I'm targeting the entire Lagos, and those that I intend to sell to are parents, but rather I decide to go and target young adults that do not even have marriage in their minds in the next 10 to 15 years, then the message campaign or the information there had failed from the onset. Which is why in our class we had academic model of communication, we talked about pretests and so many other, which is why it is imperative for you to pretest your campaign message. So at the grassroots level as well, at the micro level, you have to do what is known as segmentation. And by doing segmentation, it allows you to be able to understand how best to tailor your message. Who are those that these messages are meant for? And I need to tailor this message based on their needs. Currently now, for those of us that are parents, we are in the school fees period. If anybody is calling you right now for urgent 2K or urgent 20K, you're likely to tell them, Ogbeni, I don't have anything at the moment. Please, I need to sort my children's school fees. Because by October now, majority of them will have to resume, or even some of them had resumed school by now. And their school will equally not want to hear stories. They will tell you to do what? To come and pay their tuition fee. Now, if you are to target any message now to them, what will appeal to them, to parents now, is how to buy that quality school bag at a cheaper rate, how to buy that quality water bottle at a cheaper rate, how to buy that shoe or the sneakers their children will wear to school, the quality ones at a cheaper rate. That is the only thing that can appeal to them. Meaning, if you are targeting them as part of your own audience, then you need to design your message to appeal to them only. Because you've been able to understand their unique needs, you've been able to understand their current preferences, and you understand their current realities, which is their circumstances. Number 2 we'll be looking at is behavioral incentives. Behavioral incentives. Under social marketing, number 2 there is behavioral incentives. I want to talk about behavioral incentives. This has to do with offering rewards, recognition, or other incentives to motivate individuals to engage in the desired behavior or take specific actions for development communication or for development. Now, when we talk about these behavioral incentives again, most product owners, most development communication teams, most NGOs look out for one thing, and that is to reward people for their action. If you are telling me to come to school early, what do I stand to gain? There must be something that I need to gain. Just like our lecturers will do sometimes. Because they needed to deal with the class, they'll tell you, my test is going to be by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. They don't mind if you are living in Igbobo and you have to come to Unilag by that 7 a.m. Even if you like, sleep in school. It's none of their business. But because they needed to drive home their point, they will tell you, my test is by 7 a.m. and you have to be in class. Do you know what they are trying to give? It is a behavioral incentive. What do you stand to gain as a student? What you're only running after is just 40 marks. It's just for you not to miss that CA. Same way the development communication team, when they are meeting people at the micro level, they try as much as possible to give something. I'm telling a youth in a rural community to stop the rate at which they impregnate young girls. And I'm equally discussing with the ladies to avoid unwanted pregnancies. Same way for both parties. Please avoid unwanted pregnancy. I'm only saying it with my word of mouth. What am I giving back as a form of incentive to effect that behavioral or attitudinal change that I'm expecting as an NGO or as a development communication team that is looking out to reduce the rate at which young adults get pregnant? There must be something that I'm ready to give in return. Part of the things we often give in return is by going to that environment, that rural community, to share condom. We go there to teach them or to give them a workshop or a training or a seminar by sensitizing them. That is what we are going there to give in order to bring about that change, that behavioral attitudinal change, or to motivate them into to engage in a particular action. And the third one we'll be looking at is effective messaging. Effective messaging. Effective messaging. Crafting persuasive messages that resonate with the target audiences, emotions, values, and motivations, and compelling them to adopt the desired behavior all relies on how effective our message is. If our message is not going to be effective, it is best not to even embark on it at all. Which is why when making use of your model, the ACADA model, you need to conduct what is known as an assessment, a situation report. What is the problem on ground? That is the only way you can be able to tackle the problem at hand with an effective message. You need to identify their problems before you can be able to craft a persuasive message. Take for instance, and please don't mind my examples. Take for instance, you are meeting a lady who has just been served or who has just been served at breakfast. We all know what it looks like in a relationship. Now, for the fact that she's been served breakfast at the moment, and you're a guy who is equally interested in the same lady, if you are going to meet her because you needed to effect that change, that behavioral change, lovely or emotional behavioral change to be channeled towards you, you can't go there to start promising her the same thing the previous boyfriend promised her. You are expected to go with a different message that will appeal to her more. And you are not only going there by just word of mouth, you equally need evidences. And where are your evidence coming from? They are likely to be coming from our own friends as well. That will help you portray your own message, deliver your message positively to say this man is different from the previous ones you have tried. Same way NGOs or development communication teams equally make use of this. They go to all these rural communities and tell them we want to effect this particular change in your environment. And these people tell them, come, so and so NGO that they call it come, they were here 2-3 months or 2-3 years before you are here, before us at the moment. And they equally promised this, they promised that. At the end of the day, they didn't do anything. What are you bringing differently to the table? And that is where your effective communication comes to play. Meaning you have to craft it. And when you are crafting this information message, every piece of that information or every piece of that message must be persuasive enough so that it resonates with the community, with the rural community, members of the rural community. It resonates with their emotion, it resonates with their values, and it equally motivates them at the end of the day. And once it motivates them, I can tell you such persuasive message has the tendency of compelling them into taking such attitudinal change or behavioral change that you expect. The third strategy we'll be looking at is the community outreach. Community outreach. Let us reiterate this again so as to know that we all are on the same page. Number one strategy, like we said, is educational campaign. Another educational campaign, we have what is known as information dissemination, we have skill building, and we have interactive workshop. Information dissemination, skill building, and interactive workshops. And our number two strategy is social marketing. Another social marketing, we have what is known as segmentation. We have behavioral incentives, and we have effective messaging. Effective messaging. Number 3, we have community outreach. Community outreach. Community outreach initiatives involves direct engagement with individuals. Again, at micro level, it has to do with direct engagement with individuals. When you are engaging a particular rural community, for instance, it should be one-on-one first before you start looking out for the radio station that appeals to them. Your message should go to them one-on-one basis. So community outreach initiatives involves direct engagement with individuals within their local communities. These initiatives allows you to be able to build trust with them. It allows you to equally be able to facilitate dialogue and empower individuals, these people, to make informed decisions. Because when you meet with them one-on-one, you can build that trust. You facilitate dialogue, in most cases, which is often two-way communication. And when you do all of this, it empowers them to make informed decision on what you've brought to the, or on what you are bringing to the table. So the core strategies we'll be looking at under this community outreach is number 1, door-to-door campaigns. Door-to-door campaigns. And when you make use of this door-to-door campaign, it allows you to be able to engage community members through door-to-door visits to provide information, resources, and support. We've been able to understand the fact, as an NGO or a community development team, we understand this rural community does not have good water, access to good pipe-borne water. You meet out with them or get to meet with them one-on-one. We want to give you this, and this is the reason why we want to give you. Or if you have any counter opinion on what you need instead of water, let us know. That way you get to talk. And by doing this, you have to meet them one-on-one. We saw some of these things played out during the last election. And that was one of the strategy of APC to ensure they come back to power in Lagos State, in quote now, in Lagos State. So you engage community members through door-to-door, visit them, provide information, tell them what you have for them. What are the resources at hand? What are the support you're ready to give them? That is it for door-to-door campaign. Number 2 is mobile clinics and health camps. Mobile clinics and health camps. Now, I'm using this mobile clinics and health camps because we'll be making use of this as our own anecdotes, or we'll be making use of it as our own examples, a real life or a real time scenario example. I will make use of mobile clinics. So offering mobile healthcare or healthcare services, screening and educational sessions in remote and undeserved areas allows you to be able to equally connect with them one-on-one. When you do community outreach, these are some of the programs you could get to do. You set up a particular healthcare system for them, something they can have access to. In most cases, it is often free of charge. And we get to see some of these things on our radio sometimes. They advertise it and tell you there's free eye check, free operations for those who are having glaucoma and so many other eye-related diseases. They tell you it is free. What that NGO is trying to do is to reach out to you, and they are doing this one-on-one. One thing they've been able to help you to take care of are your basic needs. The financial aspect of it, they will waive it. You have a waiver on that. In terms of proximity, they are bringing it to your doorstep, meaning they are making use of it at the micro level. And the third one here is community meetings. Community meetings. Organizing community meetings, organizing community gatherings, workshop or meetings to discuss issues, share knowledge, and foster collective plan. When you are doing your community outreach, you don't do it in isolation. You rather come together, meet with people of like minds, Tell them this is what you have for them, which is why you find most communities in Lagos, they tell you they have a town hall. One thing kept cropping up my mind, a town hall different from your Bala Blue and so on. They come up with some of those town hall meetings for people to come together. Let us dialogue. This is what we are bringing to your community. This is how we intend to solve some of those problems you are facing. So when you meet with them at the micro level, it goes a long way. Now, what are the models that you can apply at the micro level? We have two. Number one is this two-step flow model. Two-step flow model. Two-step flow model. Two-step flow model. The two-step flow model, a student of communication, mass communication, I want to believe we must have heard of the word two-step flow model. The two-step flow model was developed by Paul Lazarsfeld in the 1940s, and it proceeds or assumes, its assumptions is that information flows from the mass media to opinion leaders and then to the wider public. But at the micro level of development communication, this model highlights the significance of identifying and engaging opinion leaders with communities. I'll rerun that again. At the micro level of development communication, this model, that is the two-step flow model, highlights the significance of identifying and engaging opinion leaders within the communities. And who are the opinion leaders within the communities that we have? We have them as the Mogajis, we have them as the Bales, we have them as celebrities, local champion celebrities that are in our environment. We have them as village heads. We have them as CDA chairmen. These are people who try as much as possible to engage so that they can help us. They have the capacity of knowing how best to reach out to the community members. So these opinion leaders serve as intermediaries who can effectively disseminate information between an NGO, between a communication development team or development communication team to influence perception. That is, change the way they think about a particular issue or change the way they think about critical issues, inspire their behavior, and change among their peers. So a whole lot of people often say during COVID-19, the palliatives didn't come to our doorstep. While the Lagos state government had dispatched quite a lot of these palliatives, some of our village heads, some of our heads, some of our ballets, some of our kings had this palliative. You saw what happened to Rilwan Akeolu, who had palliatives in his palace, but decided not to release it to the people. And what happened after post-EndSARS? We started seeing people discovering one palliatives warehouse or the other. It's because the government made use of the two-step flow approach by reaching out to opinion leaders in this environment, engage them so as to reach out to the community members, but they did not do so. But when we are running our own NGO, or we get to do what is not have a community development team to reach out to a particular rural community, we should not only delegate, we should delegate and do a thorough follow-up and avoid delegating and abdicating. Because when you delegate and abdicate, then it means you are not doing follow-up. And that was the mistake quite a lot of government institutions made. They only made use of these opinion leaders and then they abdicated. They are expected to delegate and abdicate, do a thorough follow-up to ensure this food, to ensure these palliatives, or to ensure these interventions reach out or get to the target audience. Number two we'll be looking at is the health belief model. Health belief model. The health belief model is widely used to understand and influence health-related behaviors. And we often make use of these health belief models in for interventions that are health-related. An environment or a rural community where we know they give birth to loads of children, and but their women get to suffer from maybe cervical cancer, breast cancer. Their men suffer from sexually transmitted infection, and they are dying on like daily basis. Their population is reducing gradually. If we are coming in with our intervention, we can make use of this health belief model approach. And this approach suggests that individuals are more likely to adopt health-related actions if they believe in the following. Number one, they are susceptible to a specific health problem. Number two, the health problem has severe consequences on them. Number three, the recommended action will effectively reduce their susceptibility or severity. People only believe in taking drugs only when they suffer from a particular ailment. A man who decides to have an unprotected sex, who is a family man, contracts gonorrhea. I can bet it with you, if they are telling him to go and make use of the mixture of cola nut, bitter cola nut, the bitter cola, salt, mix it with honey, and give him different concoction, he's likely to go and buy it because he believes in it at that moment, because of the severity of the thing affecting him at that moment. So they equally believe that your rural community or your beneficiaries that you intend this intervention for are likely to believe in it if they have confidence, because they have confidence and the ability to overcome that barrier to taking the recommended action. So when you recommend some things for them, they will take it hook, line, and sinker. They won't even think about it. COVID-19, they asked us to make use of what? They made use of this health belief model because, and we equally bought into it, into the use of nose mask, social distance. If you touch me, you're in trouble, attitude, and so on. What else do we make use of? Hand sanitizers, and so on. Meaning they made use of what? The health belief model. So in development communication, this model is often applied to design campaigns and encourage health-related behaviors such as vaccination, safe sex practices, or healthy eating habits. I think we should look at a case study or a micro-level communication for public health. So let's consider a case study where a public health organization aims to reduce the prevalence of childhood malnutrition in a rural community. At the micro level, the organization implements the following strategies. Number one is the educational campaign. They implement this strategy of educational campaign as the organization conducts information sessions for mothers and caregivers on the importance of balanced nutrition for children, emphasizing the role of local and affordable foods. So they also provide for them practical cooking demonstrations and distribute pamphlets with nutrition recipes. If they are equally to make use of social marketing, now again we are talking about our case study and we are using prevalence of childhood malnutrition in a rural community. And we are looking at the strategies you can make use of at the micro level, a one-on-one approach this time around. The educational campaigns was the one I explained just now. The second one is the social marketing. You can make use of that of social marketing by recognizing that mothers are influential decision makers in nutrition. What is the business of the father other than to drop the money? So the organization launches, or a development communication team comes together and they launch a social marketing campaign that offers reward, such as discounted groceries or recipe books to mothers who consistently prepare nutrition meals for their families. The third one is community outreach. Community outreach. So health workers often also visit households to conduct nutritional assessment for children. They offer guidance on improving dietary practices and provide supplementary nutrition resources. They equally engage in one-on-one discussion with caregivers or mothers to address specific concerns. So the conclusion I can actually draw from this is that the micro level of development communication is a pivotal stage in fostering personal change, creating awareness, inspire action. So, and by employing the strategies, and what are these strategies again? Educational campaigns, social marketing, and community outreach. Development communicators can effectively engage individuals and motivate them to adopt a particular change that contributes to their own well-being and the progress of their community. Everybody loves to live well. Health is wealth. And the Yorubas will say it, Ilela Loro. Health is wealth. So when we make use of things that we ensure as a community development team or NGO or health related company, When we intend to reach out to people, we should always make use of this micro level in most cases, because it serves as one of the most effective. So models like the two-step flow model and help believe model can help provide valuable framework for designing and evaluating micro level communication initiatives. So in the broader context of development communication, a holistic approach that combines micro, meso, and macro level is often the most effective. But when you make use of the micro, it allows you to be able to reach out to them one-on-one. Please, can anyone give us a recap of what we have done so far? I won't be the only one talking. I'll start calling
Let
names.
me
So,
let me try. Let me try. Okay.
okay.
So I'll just start from the micro level model planning. So you said it's all about bringing people together on a personal level to
Okay.
effect social change. And then the objectives of micro level planning model is first to create awareness,
Yes.
secondly to change perception, third to provide knowledge, fourth to inspire action. And this model is used to inspire personal change. The word personal is a key word because it focuses more on the grassroots level, which is the most personal form of model among both the micro, the meso, and the macro. Then you said the strategies of micro level is one educational campaign. Under the educational campaign, we have information dissemination.
Yes.
The lack of information dissemination brings about something known as the conspiracy theories, where people make up things on their own without having the first-hand knowledge or information on the topic of discourse or situation at hand. Then the second one is the skill building. The third one is interactive workshop.
Yes.
Then the second strategy you said is social marketing. It applies to the marketing principle that promotes beneficial social behavior. Then you said the strategy here includes one, segmentation. So when we segment, we identify our audience, thereby forming our messages properly to suit our audience. Then secondly, we have behavior incentives. That is when you're taking this message to them, you tell them what they will gain, what is there for them. Then here you use the examples like MTN, Woof, Coca-Cola bottle caps where you win free gifts and the rest. So when you're taking a message of social change to people, you have to also let them know what they stand to gain by adopting this social change. Then the third one, you said effective messaging. When we craft effective messaging, it's persuasive in nature, thereby making the whole communication process more effective. Then the third one, you said community outreach. Here is the direct engagement process where you meet them directly one-on-one. Then you said the strategies to use here is one, door-to-door campaign. Secondly, mobile clinics and health camps. Thirdly, community meetings. I mean, during the election cycle, we see a lot of this strategy where people say, for instance, when we're doing is it register for your PVC or something? A lot of people went door to door to convince Nigerians to register for their PVCs, as well as encourage them to go pick it up after registration. Now we saw some political parties as well that had health camps. They did free health outreaches and the rest. Then the community meetings. What's this word? Town hall meetings. Town hall meetings. During election cycle, you also see a lot of town hall meetings where politicians go on to meet uh, their prospective voters. Then you said the models that can be applied in the micro level is first two-step flow theory, a two-step flow model, and then the health belief model. The two-step flow talks about the role, I'm just going to summarize it. It talks about the role of opinion leaders in social change because it believes that messages or information flows from opinion leaders to the receivers, to the decoders. So in the two-step flow theories, it highlights the significance of engaging opinion leaders at the micro level to effect social change. Then the health belief model also is used to understand and influence health related behavior. Then you gave example of when someone identifies a health challenge, it's easier to sell something to them or to the person if that problem already exists within the environment. You said maybe when a man has certain health issues, and then you can come to him and just tell him, see, if you buy this thing, it's going to work. Let me just use example of the COVID-19 era. People knew COVID-19 was a problem, so it was easier for hand sanitizer marketers to sell their hand sanitizers, the face masks. People who invested in these industries actually benefited. They profited from this because at that point in time, it was the COVID-19 era, and they had already sold towards that. Using hand sanitizers will help us prevent COVID-19. Wearing face masks and the rest would help us prevent contacting the COVID-19. So I'll stop here.
All right, thank you very much for that wonderful recap. It shows you guys have been following. Much appreciated. I didn't think you gave me something less. I would have, it would have discouraged me, but I'm quite impressed. So we'll move on to the next one, which has to do with the meso level. The meso level. Please, I want a break of maybe 1 minute, please. I need to take water, please. Thank you. All right, thank you. So we're moving on with the meso level of development communication. And what do we do with this? What do we do at this level? Our major goal is to target policy change and advocacy. Policy change and advocacy, just like what we have in at the micro level. At the micro level is about inspiring personal change, while at the meso level, it's about targeting policy change and advocacy. The meso level of development communication is one crucial aspect of driving social change by targeting policy change and advocacy. And at this level, development communicators focus on influencing policies, institutions, and systems to create an enabling environment for development initiatives. So for this class, we'll explore the key elements of the meso level, which includes its objectives, strategies, and the frequent application of models like the agenda setting theory and advocacy coalition framework, so that we can have a detailed understanding of what meso level is all about better. At micro, we noted that it's about inspiring individual change. But at meso is a step ahead of micro, meaning we are going from grassroots to the, let me use the word, regional level. Yes, regional. Because when you move from here, and this regional level can as well affect the national level. Meaning micro is the first, then we move at the meso, which is the middle. And it is a crucial aspect, like I said, often used for effecting social change. Series of examples can be brought to bear. Number one is the NSAS protest. We also saw the rate at which the Nigerian police were maiming quite of Nigerian youths, harassed them, and so on. The civic engagement we had on Twitter, or X, as it is being called now, saw to people coming together to bring about this social change, to say no to this critical issue of ours in the society. The police are meant to protect us, not to kill us, not to extort us. They are meant to be our friends. But the way they operate is actually the reverse. And at some point, we started having influencers get to come together. The death of this, the death of so many young individuals who died at the hands of these officers. And this brought about a developmental change. And this change doesn't just come easy, it doesn't come in a day. It comes gradually. The protests we started day 1, day 2, day 3, at some point saw to the needs of Nigerian youth. What are the things that you need now that you are in Lagos State House of Assembly? Tell us what you need. And we stated our needs. This is what we want. I think it was a 5 plan or a 5 thing that we tabled before them then. And they said they were going to fulfill it. It's not just about saying it. You need to do it. You need to put it to action. So at this level, development communicators here focus on influencing policies. Now, if you're telling us you are going to do this, you have to implement it. You have to put it to use. We have to see it that you are doing this, then we need to see it work. This is when development communicators come together. And when I say development communicators, I'm looking at development communication team coming together, NGOs. We have some that are against, I've forgotten the name of this thing they show, where you maltreat a wife, where you beat your wife up. Can somebody help me with the English, please? What is that?
Domestic violence.
Thank you, domestic violence. We have a particular NGO that is taking care of this. And what they are trying to do is to effect that social change. that this has to stop. So this development communicator team come together to focus on influencing some of those policies. They just don't leave it in our books, in our constitution, but rather they need to put it to use. Say no to rape. We have those that are into that today that tell you the moment you rape a young lady or you have a carnal knowledge of someone who doesn't give you the consent to do so, then you are going to at least 7 years. So they challenge some of these policies. They challenge some of these institutions and systems to create an enabling environment for development, basically for development. So without some of this, so meaning at the meso level, we can see now that it is a step ahead. It is not just about a rural community. No, it is about people coming together to effect a social change this time around, to activate policies, to ensure government, even the government of the day, implement some of these policies. So what are the objectives of the meso level? The meso level has specific objectives that contribute to its importance, to its own significance. Number one is policy influence. Number two is institutional change. Number three, systematic impact. Number four, advocacy. Again, number one, policy influence. Number two, institutional change. Number three, systemic, not systematic, systemic impact. And number four, advocacy. So at the policy influence, what do? The primary goal is to influence policies and practices to align them with the development or with development goals and improve overall community well-being. One thing is obtainable, or should I say observable, in Lagos. Our major highways, yes, they are tarred. Their roads are tarred. But our own local community, when you live in places like Ikorodu, except the highways that lead to your bus stop that get tarred, the one you have on your street, forget it. Meanwhile, when you ask the local government chairman, they will tell you they've awarded that same road of that your street. They've been awarding it for the past 16 to 20 years, or to even 24 years. But the evidences are not there anymore. Meaning somebody is collecting the money, siphoning the money, and then we are not seeing what they use it for. This is why most development communicators or NGOs will now start to come together to say, no, we need to implement this policy. If they are assigning the money to you, what do you do with it? What are you doing with it? But as Nigerians, regularly, we are used with the ego better attitude to say, yes, this one will equally pass. We will use it like that. So the primary goal of the meso level, at the policy level, at the policy influence, is to influence policies and practices to align them with development goals. These are the things we want in our environment. We need certain development. We need good hospitals. We don't want to go to the general hospital and then they will tell us there are no drugs or the doctor is not available. We want a situation where we'll go to even our own local healthcare centers. They can treat us even better than the general hospital or even the private hospitals around us. Number two, which is the institutional change. At the institutional change, this level six to drive institutional changes within organizations, government agencies, and non-government entities to facilitate development initiatives. And when we deal with institutional change here, most NGOs might not be able to take this up because we live in a world of what is your own business with my own business, with the way I live my life. But it is something we should be able to say no to. In the diaspora, their system is able to work because you and I over there, unfortunately we are here, you and I over there, every individual has a say because each and every one of them, they are major taxpayers. And they have a say in what the government use their money for. And that is where institutional change comes. If I'm going to a local government secretariat to request for as low as, I've forgotten what we call it, birth certificate, as low as that, or a certificate to show that I'm an indigene of this community. If I'm going there by 8, or if I'm there by 8, and the security man tells me, or security details tells me, okay, sit down. The person to attend to you is yet to resume. They should resume in the next 2 hours. And you've been here too early. I expect you to be at work by 8. So I'll have to wait till like 10 before you arrive. Then before you attend to me, you tell me you want to eat. When you are done eating, you have to gist. And at the end of the day, you have to waste nothing less than 5 hours, good 5 hours of my time before you could get to attend to me. These are some of the changes that we need in our institutions, whether it is government agency, organization, or even non-government entities or parastatals, to facilitate development. If what I need at the general hospital, we often find some of these situations as well. I'm there, the nurse is expected to attend to me in a civil manner, not for you to talk to me anyhow. I get there, you tell me to sit down, the doctor is coming, and then you gist for another 1 hour to 2 hours. What if the ailment I'm battling with at that moment could kill me in the next 30 to 1 hour? You don't know. So some of these things at the meso level, that development communication team come together to tackle some of this institutional change, to tackle some of these institutions to bring about institutional change. The third one is the systemic impact. It aims at this level, at the meso level, it aims to create systemic changes that address structural issues, fostering sustainable development. Aims to create systemic changes that addresses structural issues, fostering sustainable development. Without some of this sustainable development, if our development is not sustained, then we'll be having issues. Lagos is working today because of its sustainability. Apologies to those who are anti-APC or I'm pro-APC, but I'm using it as an example for the sake of the class. Lagos is moving today because of its sustainability. There's been a blueprint that is working for them. Even though it is still not getting to the core grassroots, Lagos is more of a city we can call, wait, development is not equally coming to your place. So, and this development has to be what is systemic, because we often come together at the meso level as development communication team to create this systemic change that addresses structural issues. And when we talk about structural issues, that is one thing the Labour Party or the Gen Z is trying as much as possible to bring about in the last election. And that has to do with the structure of Lagos state governance. Let us stop the rate at which we know one person could single-handedly bring about another person into power. And we know who the individual is. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the one running the show in Lagos. But when we ask ourselves some questions, is he actually the one running the show? It is not him. He equally has those he will have to report to, meaning something is wrong with that structure. Without an NGO, which is the structure, which is even, nobody is bigger than the constitution, but evidently in Nigeria, we know there are some people who are bigger than even the constitution itself. No matter how well you try as much as possible to drag them down, they still show you, yes, okay, fine, this is what you want, we'll give you, but at the back door, we know what goes on. So this systemic structure that we want to change, this is what some of these NGOs look out for. Question them. People like the father of fowls, try as much as possible to question, Ganifawa try as much as possible to question the system by coming together. And we equally have them in House of Assemblies as well, as leaders of some of these NGOs, as leaders of some of this development communication team, to say, don't worry, when I'm going to the next, when I'm going to the House next time, next sitting, I'll be raising this as well as a major concern. And number 4 is advocacy. Advocating for the rights and needs of marginalized communities and vulnerable populations is a key focus as well at the meso level. Meaning the meso level now we can see is way bigger than the micro. This has to do with fighting for a good cause. And advocacy is one of the major things here, where we advocate for the rights and the needs of marginalized communities. As low as this example could be, we are seeing justice for Mohbad since yesterday, and telling us one thing cropped to my mind, telling us how powerful some of these record labels think they are, and how they think they can run the industry or run the show. But because these young lads equally lack the right advocacy, and because we know them to equally smoke or engage in some of these illicit drugs that they make use of, then they equally have lesser say. But they need someone to advocate for them, because they are marginalized. The moment they leave that record label, they become marginalized immediately. To say, no, don't give him shows anymore to attend, Because the moment you give him shows, it means you are giving him food to eat. So they marginalize them. We see them as marginalized communities. We equally have the same communities in Lagos State as well. They tell you because this community is a particular ethnic group in quotes prone, then development shouldn't get to them. Or because this entity is between one border or the other, then development shouldn't get to them. And we find them to be very vulnerable population. And this is actually very key when we talk about what advocacy. The next one is the strategies at meso level. We've discussed the policy aspect. So each and every one of these things equally have their own core strategies underneath. Equally have their core strategies underneath. So for policy analysis, shall I say policy influence, we have three major things here. What are the things that you can use to conduct your policy analysis, your policy influence? Number one is research. Number two is stakeholder engagement. And number three, you have impact assessments. Number one, research. Number two, stakeholder engagement. Number three, impact assessments. The policy influence or policy analysis involves the systematic examination of existing policies to identify gaps, the inefficiencies that are in the policies, and areas that need improvement. Let me run that again. Policy influence involves the systematic examination. The 1999 constitution we are using, can we still keep up with it till date? Today, even as mass communication students, if we are to write one or two papers or we want to write our dissertation, there are some theories that are going into relegation or that are archaic already that you can't bring to bear in the era of new media, in the era of technology and media, in the era of AI and media. There are some theories, there are some theories that might fit into traditional media, but that won't fit into this, meaning they need to be checked. They need to be improved upon, which is why today, when we talk about agenda setting theory, we'll start talking about the first level of agenda setting theory, the second level of agenda setting theory, the third level of agenda setting theory, meaning they are changing. So when we identify some of these gaps, we now need to look at the inefficiencies that are embedded in it at the meso level. And we equally need to look at the areas that need improvement. So we need to do some of these things when we are bringing them to real life scenarios. And what are the strategies that we have under policy influence, or what is known as policy analysis? Number one is research. We have to conduct or carry out an in-depth research and collect reliable and valid data in order to understand the current policy landscape. Again, number one under our policy influence or policy analysis is to conduct research. And by conducting research, we need to conduct an in-depth research, collect our data, which must be valid and reliable to understand the current policy landscape. And how can we collect reliable data or valid data? We collect our reliable data or valid data by pre-testing some of these instruments for data collection. We can conduct a survey. We can conduct focus group discussion. I'll try as much as possible not to advise to conduct to do what is known as interview. You can only use interview to support, meaning you'll be using what is known as a mixed method research design this time around. So that by the time you are bringing about new change into the policy or the policy and the current policy at hand, you can say at 90% or at 99.9% that yes, these new policies we are bringing on board is likely to effect expected change. Number two there is the stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement under policy influence or policy analysis. So engaging with stakeholders, including government agencies, NGOs, and affected communities to gather insights and build alliances. Stakeholders engagements. At the meso level, you don't take it on one-on-one basis anymore. You are bringing the government to bear on board. You are equally bringing the government agents, some government agencies as well. You are bringing in NGOs. You are bringing in the affected communities in order to have a greater insight or a better insight and help them to build alliances. Say now, this is the community leader, this is the chairman, CDA, this is the representative from the government, this is the representative from another NGO, and this is the representative from a government agency. I'll give us an example. Along Ishawo axis in Ikorodu, there is a place we refer to as Afa. Afa is just a small river. They've tried as much as possible, and whenever it rains along that axis, if you are the type that is coming from Okeoko, I can bet it with you, you can't go to work that day. You rather stay back or look for somebody to carry you across that river, or probably take a canoe just to pass and then continue your journey. They've tried as much as possible to construct bridge. By the end of the day, the bridge will still collapse all the time. Now, when they are involving high-tech to come and construct the bridge, they didn't just solely decide, let us construct this bridge. high-tech had to do their assignment by involving the major stakeholders. And who are the major stakeholders here? The communities. The government agencies were equally there. NGOs were equally there to come up with best insights on how best to come up with a better bridge that will be long lasting enough. And the third one is impact assessment. Assessing the potential impact of policy changes on communities and identifying potential risks and benefits. When you don't conduct what is known as assessment, the impact assessment impact, then the meso level is still shaky. So you have to assess the potential impact of that policy change. When we make this change, what will be the effects on people? Are we still going, by the time we bring about this new policy, this change in this policy, are people still going back, or the policy is about to bring about new development for them? So these are the questions we should ask ourselves. So when we get this right at the strategy, at the meso level, then we can say, okay, some of these policies with questions, some of these inadequacies with questions will bring about developmental change at the end of the day. Number 2 here is advocacy campaigns. And what are the strategies under advocacy campaigns? What are the strategies under advocacy? What are the strategies under advocacy? Advocacy campaigns are central to meso levels in efforts to drive policy change. Advocacy campaigns, again, are central to the meso levels effort to drive policy change. And what are the strategies under this advocacy campaign? Number 1 is public awareness. You need to raise the public awareness about critical issues and the need for policy change. If you don't create that awareness, by the time you are bringing about the change, they will tell you they don't know about it. Which is why communication, when some people say, why are you studying mass communication? It's a lazy man course. It's because they don't know how deep it is. Which is why today, development communication itself is on its own, is another field entirely that people should study. So when you do your public awareness, then people can say, okay, I think something is about to happen about this particular policy in our environment. So when the change is coming, they are ready to embrace it. They're ready to become part of it. So public awareness is number 1 under advocacy campaign. Number 2 is media engagement. Again, you can't do this in isolation. You have to collaborate with media outlets to amplify. Because at the micro level, we are doing it one-on-one. You might not need the radio station because it is a one-on-one affair. But at the meso level, you need to engage media in order to amplify your messages. So when you amplify some of this advocacy message, it allows you to be able to engage and connect with the members of the community better, because that is the right media or the right channel to reach out to them and to meet with them. And when you are making use of this, they can tell you, yes, we've heard about this change on radio and this policy on our TV station, and we are expecting so and so change. As a matter of fact, it becomes something they equally still gist themselves about, that when are they doing it? This road that they intend to do it, will be hearing it on radio. When are they doing it? So the next one is mobilization. mobilization under our advocacy of mobilization. So mobilizing civil society organizations, communities, and individuals to advocate for specific policy reforms. Government also make use of this meso level very well. They engage our celebrities to inform people, they engage individuals, they influence decision makers, they mobilize civil societies, they mobilize organization, well-meaning organization, well-meaning individuals, mobilize communities and individuals to advocate for that specific policy reform, to say we don't want this particular policy anymore. The policy of do not the border and the Nigerian border being shut down. If people get to come together to say, no, let us advocate for this policy, to say, please, federal government, open the border. Let us have access to food so that food can become cheaper. It is part of our job as development communication team. But if we keep quiet, the government as well will think the policy is fine. But when we question the policy, towards the reformation of that policy, then the reformation of that policy, then it goes a long way by bringing about what development. Gone are the days where Nigerians are not scared of buying clothes, because how much is even okrika? How much is grade A? We still find them and Yaba, Ted show access at night. We get them, but they dare not. They can sell it there, but if you are transporting that goods of as low as that okrika, one bag alone, from Lagos to Abeokuta or from Lagos to Kwara State, by the time the police is seeing you or doing their stop and search, they refer to those pieces of clothes as a contraband. But these are some of the policies that need reformation, considering our current realities in the country. Number 3 is lobbying. Lobbying, LOBBYING, lobbying. Lobbying involves direct engagement with policy makers and legislators to influence their decision. Again, lobbying involves direct engagement with policy makers and legislators in order to influence their decisions. So how do we lobby? What are the strategies towards lobbying? We lobby by building relationship with them. So we call it relationship building. We lobby through relationship building. So developing relationships with key decision makers and policy makers goes a long way. We don't allow them to work in isolation. They can't just be the one doing the work and collecting the money. We should look for a way to lobby, to say, please, this policy, we want you to please at least help us to reform it. It is affecting our own development. Number 2 is evidence-based advocacy. And what do we mean by evidence-based advocacy? Evidence-based advocacy has to do with presenting well-researched evidence and compelling arguments to support proposed policy changes. If the federal government or the state government had insisted that, see, we won't give the local government chairman the power to operate, and we, as a development communication team, understand the power of the local government, and we know if only the local government chairman has the power to influence this and ensure we equally have good roads that leads to our home, then we can equally lobby, not only with the local government chairman, but rather ask the local government chairman to give us the opportunity of meeting with the governor. Set up a town hall meeting, meet with them, lobby with them, build relationship with them, and then look for evidence-based reports. Because by the time we are going to them to say, please, we want these roads to be done because of the community school in our environment, the road these children take from their home to community school is not good. Sometimes when it rains, it becomes difficult for them to even access their schools. So we can't just go there with words of mouth. We go there with pictures, we go there with videos, we go there with various evidences, so as to find the need for them to reform that policy of saying, do not give power to the local government chairman. That way we can change their mindset to say, okay, please give power to the local government chairman. At least whatever money is being allocated to him for him to construct this road, we at the community level will monitor it. And the last strategy under lobbying is coalition building. Coalition building. coalition building. So forming alliances and coalitions with other organizations and stakeholders who share similar policy objectives is important. So when you form alliances with head of parastatals, you form alliances with commissioners, you form alliances with key NGO owners, you form alliances with non-government agencies and major stakeholders on similar policy objective, then development is likely to take place at the meso level. So, and what are the models guiding this? When I'm speaking of models guiding this, we'll be looking at the agenda setting theory, which guides the meso level, and we'll equally be looking at the advocacy coalition framework. These are the two major theories, two major models that are guiding it. And when we say agenda setting, I want to believe we all have heard of the word agenda setting. Agenda setting is of the assumption that the media is not only successful in telling people what to think, but rather tell people how to think about it. So the agenda setting theory posits that the media plays a crucial role at the meso level in influencing public agenda by determining which issues receive the most attention. So at the meso level of development communication, the theory helps shape advocacy campaigns and policy discourse, meaning the narratives would have been well framed. I don't want to start relating agenda setting theory to framing now, but at least the media would have framed the policy or the advocacy campaign in such a way that it appeals to the government of the day. It appeals to the concerned party. It appeals to the intervention that you intend to do as a development communication team. So when you are now doing your agenda setting, when you are making use of agenda setting at the meso level, you need to take cognizance of major things, the framing issues. But I don't want to relate the two too much so that we don't get it convincing. We don't find it confusing. So when we frame, it allows you as a media, when you are in coalition with other stakeholders, to present issues in such a way that it captures public and policy maker attention. So framing is equally important here, but we can only say that agenda setting is one of the best models that suits this meso level. But under agenda setting, like I said, the assumption of agenda setting is the media is not only successful in telling us what to think, but how to think about it. But for them to be able to tell us how to think about it, they will have to frame their message very well in such a way that when presenting the issue at hand, it captures the public and the policy makers' attention. What happened with NSAS was as a result of agenda. Let us push this agenda. And in the course of pushing it, we'll follow it up with good narrative by framing the content of our information very well so that it appeals to them. It appeals to the public. It equally appeals to policymakers. The next one is the media engagement. So collaborating with media outlets to ensure that advocacy messages are prominent in news coverage. Aside from just only using the agenda setting, you use the media to drive your agenda. It is the media that will position your news. It is the media that will position your needs. It is equally the media that will position your advocacy messages to say this is what these people want and this is how they want it. And the next one is the public perception. By the time you are done, agenda setting theory using at the meso level of development communication will help you to shape your public perception of issues, and it will equally help you to drive support for the policy change. So while Party A is talking about it, Party B will equally wake up to talk about it, Party C will equally wake up to talk about it. So agenda setting at the meso level is capable of doing three things: to frame the issue, capable of engaging the media as well so as to position your policy very well, and the third thing is capable of changing the perception of the public. And the next model that guides this is the advocacy coalition framework. Advocacy coalition framework. The advocacy coalition framework focuses on the interaction between policy advocates and policy makers. Again, the advocacy coalition framework focuses on the interaction between policy advocates and policy makers. Who are the policy advocates? These are the people who want a particular change or a developmental change in their environment. This developmental change again can be attitudinal or behavioral or even capacity developmental change. And the policymakers are those who will listen to those advocacy and then decide whether or not they will approve of such advocacy. So at the Meso level, the ACF, which is the Advocacy Coalition Framework, aids in planning advocacy campaigns and understanding the policy change dynamics. Let me reiterate that again. At the Meso level, the ACF aids in planning the advocacy campaign. It will help you to plan it when you are making use of the ACM approach, the ACM model now. Aside from now planning it, it will help you to understand the policy change dynamics. What are the games behind it? And how do you understand this dynamics? You understand this dynamics by identifying advocacy coalitions. By one, identifying advocacy coalitions. And when you identify advocacy coalition, it allows you to recognize groups of individuals and organizations with shared policy objectives. And when you understand or recognize these groups or individuals, your half of your problem is solved. You know who and who to go and meet. We want a situation where they will allow us bring in rice in Nigeria, open our border, and so on. Who are those? Who are the power brokers that we can go and meet? That we know once they talk to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is going to give the order immediately. So first, we need to identify some of this advocacy coalition. We recognize them. If they are groups, if they are cabals, if they are individuals or organizations with shared policy objectives, and what are we equally bringing on board that they will equally benefit when they are helping us to push these our advocacy messages as well. Number two, in understanding the policy change dynamics, we need to understand what is known as policy learning. So understanding how do we understand this policy learning? Understanding how policy makers and advocates exchange information and learn from one another is what we refer to as what? Policy learning. We need to understand how these policymakers and advocates exchange information and how do they learn from one another. Where do they meet? How do they talk? At what party do they meet? At what place do they take their decision? If I want to meet with Sanwo-Olu or Fashola, I know where to go and when to go. In order for me to be able to say, yes, I've been able to identify my target and I know how best to reach out to him and to discuss what I want to discuss with him in terms of policy. So number three here is policy change dynamics. So when we talk about policy change dynamics, analyzing it allows you to analyze the factors that influence policy change, including external events and political shifts. Between power and money, which one is the most important? Between power and money. Please, I'm asking the class, which one is most important, power and money?
Money, sir.
Money.
Let us think about it again. Oh. Power and money. Which one is very important?
Power.
It's money, sir.
It is power. Right now, Tinubu can render Dangote's refinery in Lagos useless in less than 5 minutes with just only one policy. With all his money, if Tinubu says no, that is the end. So and that is where political shift comes to play. And that is how you can only understand the dynamics of policies in itself. So you need to identify the factors that influences some of this policy change. What are the factors that influences our naira currently? What are the factors that are influencing the Nigerian economy currently? Are they internal or are they external? What are the events that are affecting it? These are some of the things that I guess Tinubu is trying to work on. Okay, we are looking at fuel subsidy, and some of us are still saying we are still likely to buy at maybe 700 to 800 naira because the price of premium motor spirit hangs on the international market now. It is whatever international market is saying that we equally be buying. It is at the same rate we equally be buying it here. So this policy change dynamics goes a long way under advocacy coalition framework. So I'll do a run of key points. Now let us look at the case study. I'll do a rerun of everything we need to take care of after this case study of meso level advocacy for environmental policy change. Now imagine a case where environmental activists aim to influence government policy to address air pollution in an urban area. That is going to be our anecdote. That's going to be our case study. So what are the things they need to do? They need to put in place 3 things. Number 1, policy analysis. Number 2, do what is known as advocacy campaign. Number 3, lobby. So when they are doing their policy analysis, researchers need to, these NGOs or this group of people coming together to challenge this policy, need to conduct research. Researchers need to conduct research. And how do they conduct research? If none of them is a researcher, they need to employ researchers who will conduct research, meaning researchers here will have to conduct air quality assessment. They need to identify sources of the pollution and analyze existing policies to pinpoint areas in need of reform. If anyone is traveling from Ogun State axis into Lagos State, and your route is between Bega, Ojodu Bega to Ojota, and by the time you are coming through Ojota, there is this place where they dump refuse, and we all cannot stand maybe 5 minutes there or 10 minutes because of the air pollution in that environment. Now there should be policies that should look at that and say, please, we cannot continue by inhaling this air, this odor all the time. So now let us look at how the government can actually shift this place to another place. Let us use the land for another thing. So first, you need to get researchers to conduct air quality assessment. 2, they have to identify sources of the air pollution. And 3, analyze existing policies to pinpoint areas in need of reform. Number 2 here is advocacy campaign. Your advocacy groups need to launch a campaign to educate the public about the health risk of the air pollution and advocate for stricter emission standards. Number 3 rather, lobbying. Environmental advocates has to equally meet with legislators. Please find something to do about this air pollution and provide scientific evidence, which was what I said earlier on. You don't just go to them with word of mouth. You need to go with evidences. Provide scientific evidence and emphasize the economic and health benefits of cleaner air. So what are the model that I said we can use to drive this? Number 1 is the agenda setting theory. The media is engaged to ensure that air pollution remains a prominent issue in public discourse and policy making. Meaning when you tune into your Arise News, they are talking about it. Your channels is talking about the same thing. TVC, your social media platforms your social media influencers are talking about the same thing at the same time. That is you using your media to drive your agenda. Number 2, when you're using your advocacy framework for this air pollution as a case study, your advocacy coalition framework, you try as much as possible to ensure that environmental organizations form a coalition to pool resources and collectively advocate for policy change. How do they do this? They engage in policy learning sessions to refine their strategy. So we can conclude to say that the meso level of development communication plays a pivotal role in driving policy change and advocacy for sustainable development by employing strategies like policy analysis, advocacy campaigns, and lobbying. Development communicators can influence policies, institutions, and systems to create an enabling environment for development initiatives. So models such as agenda setting theory and advocacy coalition framework can help provide valuable frameworks for designing and evaluating meso-level communication initiatives. So in the broader context of development communication, a comprehensive approach that encompasses micro, meso, and macro level ensures a holistic and impactful strategy that addresses individual behavior change, community mobilization, and policy transformation, essential component for lasting social change. Again, if you need to effect that behavioral change using development communication at the micro level, it has to be for interpersonal change or individual change. At the meso level, it is always at the regional. It is mostly for social change in most cases. Please, can anyone help do a recap? Please, I don't want the same person who did a recap, or someone else to pick it up. A recap on meso level for development communication. Please, someone else should give it a try. Be like, say, I'm going to call him now.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Though I missed some part, but I will try as much as possible to state those ones that I could get. Under the meso level of C4D, it is mostly regional based or national based. So, and it is targeted at policy change and advocacy, because it is used in driving social change targeted at a particular policy that is made. Its focus is on policy and institution, while the objective is one, policy influence, institutional change, systemic impact, and advocacy. Among the strategies that is used is one, policy. Under policy, which involves systemic examination of situation, we have under the point that we can use under policy influence is one, research, which is actually conducted to get a reliable data on the circumstances that we are looking at. Another one is that of stakeholder engagement, and the last one under policy influence is that of impact assessment. So under stakeholder engagement, here we engage government policies, NGOs, and the community that are affected in order for us to form an alliance or a coalition. So while under advocacy campaign, this is central to meso effort in order to drive policy change. The strategies that are used under advocacy campaign include public awareness, media engagement, and lobbying. Lobbying. So under media engagement, we are made to understand that we need to engage a lot of media channels, either traditional or the new ones that are being used, so that wherever we turn to, there's always a news about what we are talking about, that we wanted to be a change on. And then you made it clear that there are models that can be used in driving this change. Other the model is that of the agenda setting theory, and that of advocacy coalition framework. In all, in capping it all, meso level for C4D employs strategies to influence policy and creating an enabling environment, either at the regional level or at the national level. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ridwan. Please, can anyone give it a trial again?
So let me try.
Okay, ma'am.
So at this meso level is a step ahead of micro level, and it targets policy change and advocacy. It focuses on influencing and change, and its objective is policy influence. It influences policy and practices to align with the developmental goal. Then another one is institutional change. It drives change, a change of policy, using a governmental government parastatals and NGO to drive change to ensure that the developmental goal is achieved. Then systemic impact. It addresses structural issues to effect sustainable development through this systemic theme, using systemic theme. Then advocacy. This objective is to advocate for rights and needs of the marginalized communities, and then the needs of maybe people using advocacy to achieve it. Then strategies of Meso level one is research. It uses in-depth research to gather data to understand the current landscape of a situation, like using survey or focus group discussion to understand what is already policy existing at the moment to enable, bring about the policy they are trying to, or new idea they are trying to bring about to impart change. Then it engages stakeholders, like engaging representative of government agencies, NGO, to build alliance to bring about the change and also involving the development community to bring about the policy and is trying to effect. Then another one is impact assessment, conducting assessment for potential impact of the policy, to what impact it will bring about. Then the next one is strategies. Hello.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I can hear you.
Then strategies under advocacy influences, and number one is awareness, media engagement, and mobilization, just to create awareness involving people of what the new policy they are bringing about, to carry them along, because sometimes if you didn't involve the people, create awareness, educating them of the new policy that you want to bring about, sometimes it will be difficult to carry them along, maybe along to adapt with the new idea or policy you are trying to impart. Then the media engagement is collaborating with media outlets to enable amplify the messages and to engage and connect the members of the community better. Then mobilization is to mobilize civil societies, organizations, individual communities to inform people and to achieve a particular policy then lobbying is to a kind of direct engagement with policymakers, legislators, in order to influence their decision, kind of create relationship, build relationship with them to help them. A kind of, when you create relationship with them, you, while introducing your new policy, it will help them at least understand your view or new idea or policy you are trying to create in order to bring about the developmental process. Then this place I'm a little bit unclear with evidence-based advocacy, providing evidence, a kind of report to drive home your idea, like pictures or videos, using it to drive home the idea of the need, or the need, why, or letting them understand why you want to bring about the new policy or bring about the change. Then coalition building, forming alliance with government agencies and NGO to the policy. The model guiding meso level, agenda setting, then coalition framework. And the agenda setting here, the media frame the message appropriately and to appeal the publics to capture their attention, and policy makers to capture their attention to enable them understand why you want to initiate the new policy or idea, and engaging them using the media to drive your agenda. Then also, and public and perception to shape their public kind of public perception issue. Then the next one is the advocacy correlation framework. Here, those who want the policy change, the interaction between the policy advocates and then policy makers, a kind of build a kind of interaction with them, the two groups together to initiate. So I didn't get here very well. Sorry. Thank you very much. That's
All right, thank you very much. Much appreciated. I'm glad you guys are following. And we'll take the last one for today, and that is the what is known as the macro level for developmental communication. So we've talked about the micro, and we said that has to do with individual basis, or meso, that has to do with regional, in our small environment, policies that are affecting us, that we can bring about new change towards it. But the macro level of development communication, which is the macro now, what it does is to help foster societal change and global engagement. Now we can see we've moved from the individual to our own society to global now. Again, the macro level of development communication helps to foster societal change and global engagement. It is a pivotal component that cultivates a broader perspective on civic engagement by focusing on its role at the societal level. At this level, development communicators aim to encourage critical thinking about national and global civic issues and equip individuals with the advocacy and communication skills needed to address large-scale societal challenges. So I'll be looking at it for this class as well, some of the strategies we can use at the global stage, or should I say at the national stage. And that's to do with the macro level of development communication. Like I said earlier, it is a pivotal component, and it helps to cultivate a broader perspective on civic engagement. What are the things affecting us globally? What are the things affecting us continentally? So these are some of the things macro level looks at. And it looks at it by focusing on its role at the societal level. And at this level, the development communicators or communication for development team, NGOs, or whatever body is interested, aims to encourage critical thinking about national and global civic issues and equip individuals with the advocacy and communication skills needed to address large-scale societal challenges. And what body? This time around, we'll start making use of bodies this time around. What bodies can we say? When I say bodies, we are looking at, okay, it means I'll be giving an example, but actually need example of global bodies that get to come together to address global change. Can anyone give us an example?
The UNICEF and the
Thank
UNICEF,
you.
UNESCO.
The
yeah.
UNICEF, World Health Organization, and so many other EU, European Union, African Union, and so on. So these are some of the bodies I'm talking about. So, and that is where development get to take place. And we notice that UNICEF, UNESCO, they employ individuals to effect, they employ them not just to employ them for employing sake, they train them, they equip them with adequate skills, adequate information that is necessary to bring about that large scale societal challenges. They've been able to identify one thing: they cannot be everywhere at the same time. So they need representatives in every nooks and crannies of the world. We have representatives of of AU in Nigeria. Same way we have representative of UNICEF, we have representative of World Health Organization, and so on. But for this note, we'll be looking at the strategies underneath. What we have is a macro level of development communication. And like I said, it is meant to foster societal change and global engagement. So what are the objectives of them at the macro level? The macro level has several key objectives that contribute to its significance. Number one, it helps to broaden civic engagement. Number one, broaden civic engagement. Macro level seeks to broaden individuals' understanding of civic engagement by emphasizing its role in societal transformation and global affairs. Again, it seeks to broaden individuals' understanding of civic engagement by emphasizing its role in societal transformation and global affairs. We'll still be citing series of examples as we move on. Number two objective is to promote critical thinking. At the macro level, it encourages critical thinking about complex national and global civic issues, fostering informed and discerning citizens. Number three, it helps to develop advocacy and communication skills. Macro level equips individuals with the skills necessary for effective advocacy and communication on large-scale societal challenges. And number four objective is that it foster global awareness. The macro level aims to instill a sense of global awareness and responsibility, emphasizing interconnectedness and importance of global citizenship. Now, I'll take the example of each of these objectives one after the other. Now, speaking of broadening civic engagement, the macro level allows for one thing. It doesn't operate in isolation. The macro level is about let the world know about it and let us engage the world about it. That's what it's all about. It doesn't operate in isolation. And when there is any particular issue at all across the globe, whether it is about climate change, whether it is about flood, the one that happened in Morocco, now we're having it in Libya, whether it's about Ebola, whether it's about an endemic, epidemic, or pandemic, it is expected that people should have detailed information about it and they should engage on it. So in order for them to engage at the macro level, the role at the macro level is to ensure that there is a societal transformation at the end of the day about that global affair. If Ebola were not contained, COVID-19 was not contained, and measures were not put in place, we all are in trouble. If the world had not come together remotely, and this is one of the things, one of the favors, or one of the benefit of what COVID-19 did to us, being able to meet remotely and discuss about national issues, about global issues. So individuals or these bodies get to come together and broaden the civic engagement by involving each and every one of us as a party here. It is not done in isolation. And everyone is given their own roles to play for societal transformation. We had COVID-19 that almost maimed almost half of the world. But because people were engaged, people are together still discussing about how to curtail this in order to bring about what? The societal transformation, because it is a global affair. Whenever we have a pandemic or an epidemic, that is when we know that the rich and the poor, they are like together. We are one immediately. And number two is to promote critical thinking. At the macro level is where ideas come from across the globe. It is not limited to only America, who sees itself as a police of the world. The best of the best are to come together, brainstorm together, run a critical analysis on the present issue at hand. And at the macro level, it encourages this, which is critical thinking about complex national and global civic issues. The best of brains are to be on board. In order to come up with detailed information and detailed analysis on how best to tackle it. At the end of COVID-19, we were told to take COVID-19 jabs. Now, America is even saying it seems COVID didn't even exist at all. And in Africa, that had been projected to be the continent that will lose most of our people the most. Unfortunately, we were actually the lucky ones. Only few of us were affected. And despite the fact that we were asked to stay indoors, we still went outside and nothing happened. But the best of brains, best of minds were together from China to Russia to America to come up with, okay, let us come together and let's see what vaccine we could come up with to curtail this virus. Number 3 is development, advocacy, and communication skills. At the macro level is where individuals are equipped with the skills necessary for effective advocacy. Now that we know we can't go out, we can't go to our radio stations or TV stations to discuss some of these issues. Now let us make use of online. Let us communicate effectively. Let us make use of infographics. Let us create content on a large scale this time around. During COVID, we also saw a series of contents online on how COVID-19 had killed quite a lot of people in China, in Italy, most importantly, in UK, in America, and so on, and how they needed even more people to come to their country to start working, to fill in those space. And we also saw what Trump did when Trump said people from other countries are not allowed to come and take American jobs, but rather we'll use our people to replace the missing jobs. People who had lost their jobs, our people should be the ones to take over. So they will make use of the best of communication and advocacy skills to ensure people have this information at hand by telling them to make use of what is the name? Nose mask. You make use of you ensure you observe social distance, and then quite a lot of things you need to put to bear so as not to contract the virus. Number 4 there is to foster global awareness. The macro level aims to instill a sense of global awareness. We saw the evidences of these are still online about COVID-19. Same way for Ebola in 2014. A sense of global awareness and responsibility, emphasizing interconnectedness. The only time the world unites, the entire world gets to unite is in 2 different folds. Whenever we are playing World Cup or there is a pandemic, that is the only time we unite. So, and in order for us to be able to do this, a lot of awareness is being created so that the world knows about it, that yes, there is a global critical issue ongoing, or there is a global development going on that we want the entire world to be part of. If there is one thing America is doing today, is to further create awareness about democracy. Countries that are used to monarchical system of government are asked to convert it into democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people, and they have to do quite a lot of awareness on it. Which is why they tell you America is a free world today. And because people actually need their ultimate freedom, devoid of whatever religion they belong to, then they can say, yes, it seems this democracy is good. But your freedom is still not guaranteed, even if you are in America. They can tell you are free, but when you misbehave, you are still not free. So what are the strategies at the macro level? Number 1 is the policy analysis. Policy analysis at the macro level involves in-depth examination of national and international policies with a focus on their implication for societal development and civic engagement. Policy analysis at the macro level again involves in-depth examination of national and international policies with a focus on their implication for societal and development and civic engagement. So when we talk about policies at the macro level, it involves in-depth examination of national and international policies. What are the international policies affecting us? Tinubu went to Dubai over one policy, and that is to raise the ban against Nigerians coming into Dubai. That is an international policy of national benefit to Nigerians, which had to be examined by the government of the day. And why did he do that? He did that because of the implication it is going to have for societal development, not only for Nigerians, but also not only for Nigeria as a country, but for Dubai as well. And this brings about what? Civic engagement. Meaning we can now start having collaboration between the government of Dubai and the government of Nigeria. The next one is research and evaluation. At the meso level, we only talked about conducting research, but at the macro, it goes beyond just research. It's about research and evaluation. So conducting rigorous research and evaluation of existing policies to identify areas of improvement and potential drawbacks. We are not at the macro level, we are only at the meso level, we're only conducting research to look out for areas of improvement only. But macro, we are not looking out for areas of improvement, but we are also looking for the potential drawback of that development when it gets to us. For the next one, which is policy recommendations. After conducting your research under policy analysis, the next thing to do is your develop policy recommendation and proposal aimed at addressing those societal challenges and fostering civic engagement. And the last one underneath is advocacy. Engage with policymakers, legislators, and international organizations to advocate for policy changes that align with development goals. Our government gets to do this more like a bilateral relationship. They get to do this on like daily basis, which is why you have ambassador of one country to another, and another ambassador of Nigeria to another country in their own country, ambassador of that country in Nigeria, and then you have embassies everywhere across the globe. So that when you want to reach out to their government, one of the best channels to do that, if it's not a president to president affair, then it becomes an embassy to embassy affair, where you advocate, where you tell people. During this last presidential and gubernatorial election, we could see some people go to the Nigerian embassy in the UK to protest or to request for some things because they know they are free over there, way more free over there than here in Nigeria, and advocate, say out their mind, speak their mind, and they do this at the global level, at the international level. So the next one we'll look at is Model United Nations, MUN. That's the second strategy. Number one strategy is policy analysis. Number two strategy is Model United Nations. Model United Nations is an educational simulation of the United Nations, where students engage in diplomacy and decision making. And at the macro level, Model United Nations serves as valuable strategy for number one, global perspectives. And this help provide students with a platform to discuss and address global challenges, promoting an understanding of international affairs. Like I said, MUN is just a simulation. It is called Model United Nations. It is a simulation of United Nations. It's just like having a mass communication studio in your school. It is a simulation of a proper radio station outside where they use that radio station to make money. And what do they do at the United Nations? What do they do? You have representatives from each countries come together to dialogue about a global issue, giving it a global perspective based on their own reasoning or based on their own perspectives. So students often also replicate this as it provides students with a platform to discuss and address global challenges. How to promote an understanding of international affairs. Next thing is negotiating skills. Negotiating skills, this has to do with developing negotiations, the diplomacy, and the consensus building skills that are essential for addressing complex issues. And the next is research and public speaking. So when we talk about research and public speaking, this has to do with enhancing research and public speaking abilities, which is crucial for effective communication on global civic issues. And the third strategy we have here is advocacy campaigns. Advocacy campaigns at macro level aim to raise awareness and mobilization action on large-scale societal challenges. And their strategies include global advocacy, media engagement, and partnership. And what are the models guiding it? We have two, agenda setting theory, and number two is advocacy coalition framework as well. Only that for this, at the macro level, we take them at the international level. So agenda setting theory, like we said, when it was introduced at the meso level, is equally highly relevant at the macro level. It emphasizes the media's role in influencing public and policymakers' attention on critical global civic issue. We can use the case study of global climate advocacy, for instance, the case of global climate currently ongoing globally as a case study, and we can also use the models to tackle them. However, in conclusion, the macro level of development communication plays a pivotal role in fostering a broader perspective on civic engagement, promoting critical thinking about national and global issues. In holistic context of development communication, the macro, meso, and macro level work in synergy. They can all work together, depending, but it now depends on where you want to channel it to. And it helps address individual behavioral change, community mobilization, and policy transformation at a global stage, at the regional stage as well. So this multifaceted approach empowers individuals to navigate local and global civic challenges, making informed decisions, advocating for change, and contributing to a more equitable and sustainable world. So thank you very much for your time. This is where I will stop. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very, very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless
I,
you.
I, I really, I really would have loved if we have that our sheet. I mean, a sketch of that our sheet being shown on that on how the strategy for meso, macro, and micro could be fixed on those our practice sheets.
Hello, sir.
All right, please, if you have any questions, please. Just only
Okay.
10 minutes. I have another online class to join.
Okay. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much, first of all. And then we would have to, I hope when we call you next time, you'll still be available, please. Because uh there's a sheet we're working with. With everything you said now, we can see that it fully aligns with the sheet. But we would like to maybe in the next class or when next we have you, we can have a practical, like we'll just show you the sheet and then you advise us on how to fill it up if such question comes up. Then secondly, I don't know if it's possible for us to get the slides. I don't know if that would be asking for too much for us to get the slides.
No problem. I'll make the slides available.
Okay. Okay. We'll appreciate that. We'll appreciate that. From my end, I don't know if any other person has a question, but I'm very much covered. And then at the end of the day, we will send a message through Yanda or something to take care of your airtime, please. You can send your account details through him, then we'll do something. And we appreciate you so much. I mean, it's been a very wonderful class. We appreciate you. Please do answer us next time we call, please.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. Please, if any one of you still have any questions to ask, I have just only 7 minutes left.
Yes, my question is quite practical aspect. I don't know whether you would be able to take it. It's like if one is trying to advocate for child and labor, what strategies would the person be looking at or trying to put in place? What would the person put in place in terms of looking at the strategy to work with? And I'm trying to say is that one will begin with micro level to meso level without involving that of macro level. So what I'm asking is, what are the strategies one need to put in place in terms of if I'm advocating for child labor? Thank you, sir.
All right, do we have any other person who wants to ask any questions so I can take it all at the same time? All right, in the absence of none, you requested, your question is on child labor and what strategy is best to use. I always say the case of child labor in Nigeria, should I say probably in Africa, it's something that is continent. I don't know how it works over there in the diaspora, but I can speak for our own immediate environment here. If you are discussing this, if you are looking at this for a specific community, then what you can, the best approach you can make use of is the micro level, if your community is very small. But we all know what child labor looks like in Nigeria, so of course we have to take it at the meso level. Meso level is quite appropriate. Don't forget, macro has to do with global issues. Global issues. If this case of child labor were to be something that you can find globally, then I can say, okay, you can make use of macro. But for child labor in Nigeria, we can stick to meso. It is still a menace in our society today, where you find kids of 7, 12 years in child labor, hawking on the street, and so many other things that they get to sell. So at the meso level, what are the strategies that you need at the meso level? The strategy needed for your meso level has to do with your policy analysis. First, you understand the policies in place for or against child labor. For or against child labor. Is the Nigerian constitution, or is the Nigerian policy, or Lagos state policy, or which state, whatever state you're covering, if they have a policy that supports child labor, then it needs to be reviewed. But if they don't have any policy at all, then it should be part of their policy to say, if we find any parent wanting of such acts, then they will be arrested. Then when you make use of this as the policy, then find out the policies if they actually exist. Then you advocate through radio, your TV, your newspapers, your magazine, your periodicals, your billboards, and so on, to pass your message, to create awareness. These are some of the things under what you have under your advocacy. You create awareness on it. Tell them about the dangers. Tell them about the cons of having to engage children in child labor. And even if they don't still get to listen, you start lobbying. You meet with major stakeholders. You meet with people you could partner with so as to ensure your feet is very strong, so as to ensure that policy gets to the House of Assembly. That way, what you're doing is your own form of intervention, but you have to partner, you have to lobby. You have to kiss people's ass before you can get it done, because what you are advocating for is something meaningful, something beneficial for the children as well. And in the course of doing your advocacy campaigns as well, make sure you have your recordings, your pictures, your videos of the dangers, videos of pictures of situation where a car probably ran over a child walking. These are some of the dangers. So when you are lobbying, you go around with some of those videos, some of those pictures. Fashola didn't just wake up one morning and decide to ban Okada on the highway in Lagos. Same thing with Sanwo-Olu. There were pictures, there were evidences in general hospitals. So what they are making use of at that moment is the meso level of development for development. So development communicators can influence, you can as well influence these policies, these institutions and systems in order to create an enabling environment. Let these children go back to school. Encourage their parents, and you can make use of the models, the two models we made mention, the agenda setting theory and the coalition advocacy coalition framework as well, to sensitize them. Make sure the media is in the face of the media, because their parents, their parent or guardian, one way or the other, will make use of the media. And if that is the song they keep singing in their ears on daily basis to say stop child labor, or face so and so penalties, or face the wrath of the government, then they have no choice than to desist from it. And it allows us to be able to provide a valuable framework for designing this message, this advocacy message very well. So my answer to this should be, for child labor, we can make use of the meso level for development communication.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Is that time I take my
So
leave?
I would message you in order for us to get the link
please,
of the
may we have your number?
Mr. Aridwan will make my number available, just so you want to reach out to me. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And do have a lovely weekend ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I recorded the class. I'll probably have to share the link with Mr. Ridwan once I have it downloaded.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.